Good evening. This is Adventure Zach, or Aviation Zach as well, on Instagram. This is a new channel, so I am trying to create this into a learn and experience on real life and also simulator. For right now, can't fly real life this week because the planes are getting fixed or in annual maintenance. And I am a student pilot, trying to build up my skills to get my private pilot license and then continue on my skills as a commercial pilot. So with this, I will show you go through an actual checklist to actually show you and teach you, or just kind of give you an idea like what's required for takeoff, landing, that what pilots go through, student pilots go through in the beginning. I'm going off an actual checklist. Like I said, it's going to be all on Flight Simulator tonight or today. If you want to watch more of my channels, please subscribe. I will start putting not daily channels or daily videos, but more videos on and off. If I do Flight Simulator, it's going to be live and then it's going to be on there. If it's going to be an actual flight, it's of course going to be recording, and then I'll just have to edit the videos and publish them when I can. Again, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Hopefully you like what you see. If you see any procedures I miss, you can always say something. I'm always good about that. It's always about learning. We're going to fly a Cessna 172 Skyhawk. This one's a little bit more newer than the actual one I fly. The one I actually fly is from 1976. Has a little upgrades. This one, still I'm going to run the 6-pack because the 6-pack is the way you want to learn. And it does have some newer avionics for GPS and autopilot, but we're not going to use any autopilot. So we're going to do some takeoffs, touch and goes, go through the checklist, of course, do the whole procedure. Because when you go to flight school, you think you're going to be in a 2-hour block, but really you're going to be doing 30 minutes to an hour, just going through checklist and making sure you have enough fuel, making sure everything's working before you even get in the air. And even when you're on the ground, you're still doing checklist. So it's not just you just get on the runway, you give full throttle, and you just go off and fly in the wild blue yonder. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you want to start to learn how to fly. Again, flying a 172 Skyhawk Cessna, so we're going to fly on one of my local fields where I'm learning right now, so it doesn't get too crazy on me or crazy on you. I mean, this is the realest you can get right now. And we're not going to fly at nighttime because when you're VFR, you have to be visually able to see everything. Night flights, I could do landings and takeoffs at night flights, but it wouldn't help the experience of actually doing a checklist or actually flying right now, especially if you're going to watch the video. We will put some AI, and I'm also going to change the time, so we're not going to fly this, let's see. We'll say 846. We'll go at the FBO. Hopefully, no, I'm going to change the time to 8 o'clock. We don't have to go real time. We can do live weather. It's pretty windy, so maybe not. Yeah, that works. It's probably like winds you don't want to fly in a Cessna, actually. We can do 45. We'll do 160 at 10. Now, going to flight school, you can do multiple different flight schools. You can do an actual brick and mortar where you can go to a college and learn how to be a pilot, get your degree, and then move on through that process. It's pretty expensive, that process, but when say you already have your degree, you want to get some hours in, then I'd recommend to go to Part 61. Part 61 is kind of like at your own pace. I would recommend though to fly 2 to 3 times a week if you can. Saturdays and Sundays. Usually I plan it out, or I take days off from work so I can go fly in the morning when the winds are not too crazy. If not, then I just not go that day. Or if the winds are too bad, I might not just go out. We'll just call it not a good day. Part 61. What I'm doing right now, you have to be a commercial for a single turboprop engine. For land, you need 240 hours, so 40 hours minimum for your private pilot, and I'll promise you, 40 hours is not going to get you your private pilot unless you're like very pristine on everything, takeoffs, landings right off the bat. And you're not going to be doing takeoffs and landings right off the bat. You're going to be learning how to fly straight, or how to control your plane just with the throttle and the rudder, and how to do S-turns and all that good stuff. And maybe I'll show that down the road. Hopefully this shows that daytime. If not, then I'll have to back out and then go in the process again. Hopefully this is not too loud. Hopefully the volume's good. I had issues with the mic last time. It was kind of muffled out. I didn't like how the first pilot episode went, but it was actual live. Ah, yeah, this is morning. Okay, good. So again, this is that GGONC or Guthrie regional or municipal or airport. So it is not towered, so you basically have to talk to traffic, watch for traffic. Tower usually can tell you where you're at, so you have to call local Oklahoma City to get like any approach or anything if you want to go to a different airport that has a actual tower. The towers are probably, I think it's about 40 miles south. There's a tower, and then there's another one about 40 miles west as well. There's another tower that you need to call for different airspaces. Now, this is I believe a Echo airspace, so you don't have to call for clearance for takeoff or anything like that. You just call to make sure you remind other pilots, like, hey, I'm in the area and I'm about to take off or I'm about to land, and then you can communicate with them. Now, this airport scenery is pretty close to the actual airport. The FBOs or the hangars are pretty close to the actual deal. I had to go get the downloads for it, so there's no pushback carts, so that's kind of funny. That's there, but just bear with me. Of course, the guy, he won't get hurt if you run him over or not. He's kind of like a zero. He'll push you back, but he won't like die or anything like that. So don't worry about that. All right, so we're gonna start doing this checklist, and we're gonna do a takeoff. It's early in the morning, of course. We always leave the beacon on, even though there's no power. I'm gonna remove these as well, because since don't really need them for training purposes in real life, you're really not staring at the other yoke as well. This is pretty similar. I don't have these in my actual. We have a different system with the ADSB out and in, and the squawking is all in one like little module. This is kind of separate. But first we're going to do the weight and density altitude. So usually you have like your iPad, you'll have like for flight or whatever else your plan. You already have your what you're going to do, what you're going to just, and then you check the weather. And the weather, you're going to have to make sure there's no convection. Convection you don't want to take off, because in a Cessna, it'll blow you around, and you may crash and not be able to take off, or it'll just blow you over. So you definitely don't need that. This plane, you definitely need to turn on the. This doesn't have everything as the real airplane, like the carb heat. It's not located at all in here, so it's kind of weird. And then they have alternate airflow and all that good stuff. So whatever. Okay. Usually carb heat will be right here, and that's usually if you're below the green. So once it starts going below the green, so this most likely be a fuel injection version. Okay, so weight and bounce. It's going to be, well, if you go look outside, I believe it shows a co-pilot or an instructor. I may have removed them. Let's see. Yes, there's two. Okay. Okay, so we just did weight and balance. There's two of us, so we're gonna make sure we can. Of course, this is a game, so you have to kind of figure it out. We're gonna go. You need at least 30 minutes worth of fuel to go back. This burns about 10 to 8 gallons per hour. So you kind of have to, especially if you're doing cruise or you're doing cross country. You definitely don't want to leave with half tanks. For what we're doing, 14 gallons in each tank is very enough fuel. I think what we're doing, we really only need 11, but per wing, so I think we'll be well in the weight range as well for fuel. The pilot, say, definitely, yeah, we'll go with that. That's good. 170, 170. So both pilots and co-pilot is going to be in that range. And then you're looking at, we have no extra passengers in the back. We have no cargo because we're doing a training actual flight. That can give you the weights 84, 84. When you're going to ground school, you're going to learn about your momentum and your CG and all your breakdowns on actual like characteristics for that aircraft. This characteristics for empty weight is a lot different from the actual plane, so I have to go by different weights. But any plane in the future that you're going to go rent or you're going to buy, you're always going to look at the POH, and you're also going to look at the weight and balance inside the actual aircraft handbook, or where the mechanic signs, or the AMP, and it has the actual register number. That's the performance requirement, so that'll be in there as well. The flight plan, so I can't show you the flight plan, but we're just going to do some takeoffs, do a couple turnarounds and touch and goes, maybe do a little maneuvers. We'll try out some different things as well. And I'll be right back in a second. Okay, this video is live, so sorry. Got a phone call? Okay, so like I was saying with the weight and balance, you gotta make sure it's in that threshold, that envelope. ForeFlight's really good about doing your weight and balance, especially if you go off the POH, and you also go off the performance record, and also the actual sheet that's inside the actual aircraft. Always check that out. And then you also want to make sure your papers, you're going to have your airworthiness certification, you want to have your register number, and you're also going to have your operation manual, and then your weight and balance sheet. So that's good to know. Good to know is aero. Fuel, we already looked at both. Fuel, we can't get out of the airplane to actually check the fuel, but so now we'll start going through the actual aircraft. Okay, so fuel is on both. Sorry, this follows my eyes tracking, so this is kind of cool. We just turned it on. Control lock, there is no control lock. It's like a thing that kind of hides the key. The master's on, so the master right here. You'll see it click, there you go. I also have a flight stick that has all the buttons on there, so I'm always going to click everything with the mouse. So if you hear it, just kind of look down at the lower panel, different stuff that gets kicked on. And then now we're going to do master on. We're going to extend the flaps, so bring the flaps all the way down. Okay. Flaps are down. Then your pitot tube heat test. Be that one right there. That just gets the pitot tube hot enough so when it's cold outside or there's air density and stuff like that, it doesn't freeze and then you don't get your proper airspeed, because the airspeed is also based off of the pitot heat or the pitot tube, but also your static port. Or all this 6-pack runs off the static port. Well, most of these three right here will really determine on that as well, and you'll tell with the vacuum once we get that going. All right, so we're gonna do exterior lights. So we're just gonna turn on all the lights, make sure they're working. Of course, they're working because it's game, but we're just gonna have there. You're gonna have the beacon light, and you're actually out of the airplane walking. Then you got the green for your right, and you got your red for your left, and you got the little strobe lights, and then you got your landing light. All right. Sometimes it's in the middle. This one's on the left wing. So now we're going to turn the master. We're going to check the fuel gauge real quick. Go back inside. Just to match with our 14 gallons each. Okay, yeah, looks about like a matched. You'd actually get on a ladder and look at the fuel caps, but we cannot do that here. And then the master is off again. So we turn off the master. Then fuel quantity and quality, we would check that with the you would test it with a little strainer. So you just take a little fuel out, look at the glass, make sure it's not fully. All right, give me a second again. Okay, this is why this checklist takes so long. I get phone calls. Alright, so then we cap and then we check the drain vents, make sure everything's good on this. We're not going to be able to come out of this airplane for real, so then we'll check the oil, the engine, and the belt. So basically you'd be opening up the side panel up here, and you would basically take out the dipstick, make sure you have enough oil, and that it's in its range, and then you go in the front, and you look at the alternator belt and make sure there's no teeth missing, make sure it's not deteriorated, make sure there's nothing in the engine area, the compartments in the front. I don't think I can really, can I zoom? Oh yeah, I can. Okay. And you would check all these little areas right here. You're checking here, you're looking down in there. Okay. And then you would check, make sure nothing's in here, and then here's your stall. You would check. Well, you won't check that yet. So once that's checked, we do prop, the intake like we just did, and the exhaust system. You'd look at the exhaust, make sure there's no cracks or it's not loose. Like in the morning, this plane hasn't started yet, so you can actually put your hand on the exhaust and kind of shake it around. If it's been flying, of course don't touch it because it's hot. You do the stall indicator test, a little plunger thing you'd put on top of it, push it, and then you would hear it from the cockpit make like a squeal or a beeping sound. And then your control surfaces, we can go outside, maybe. Zoom out. We could do it from the outside, but you'd make sure your surfaces move. All your elevators, flaps, do all this stuff. All the good stuff. Alright, you go right, left goes down, right goes up, go left, left goes up, right goes down. Okay, control surfaces look good. The pitot-static ports, you can't really see that. The gear and tires, you make sure there's no wear or flat spots or any heat marks on the tires. Of course, we can't look at the tires. The antennas, you're going to have your two HFs, then your GPS, then you're going to have an actual two VFRs, or VORs, my bad. VORs are right here, and this is your ELT. This is your radio, and then usually a GPS will be like right here, right there. Those are your fuel caps. That's your trim right there. So when you're trimming, this is actually moving. Sometimes the little trim line's missing, so you just kind of look back and just kind of straighten it out a little bit. I don't think you can see the other antenna, the exhaust. Usually the transponder antenna is like right underneath the fuselage, like right about here. And then the marker is right there, the marker antenna. Different system. Okay, so now we got that. Antennas, tires, and chocks. We have none of that. Baggage door is closed. Do a final walk around. So you finally walk around the aircraft. And this is when you go, if you're going to take off, or you're like, hey, you sure you don't need to go to the bathroom or anything like that before we go? Because once we get in the air, it is what it is. We're going to do a passenger brief. So basically we're going to say best rule of thumb is safety. So you're going to make sure you have the seatbelts on. You show them how to put the seatbelts on. And then you're going to show them how to use the air vents. It's for A. And then F is for the fire extinguisher. If there is one on here, I don't think so. So, yeah. And then emergency exit. We got the doors. We got the windows. We can kick out the front window. We got the right window. That door latch opens right there. Kick out one of the windows to evacuate. Also, if you before we go, if we going down or like that, we're always gonna like unlock the doors. They say like unlatch it if you're gonna go into an actual hard landing or something or crash. I guess because if the plane hits too hard, it can jam up the doors and then you can't get out of the doors, and that's no fun. And then, why is any questions? Like, do you have any questions? Oh wait, actually it's talking. My bad. We skipped one. Talking. When we're taking off the landing, we need to be let the pilot like talk with the radio or let them handle it. Let's not have a conversation because those are the key points that can cause any like have any issues takeoff and landing. We definitely don't need that. Also, if they're saying hey silence or anything like that, don't just be quiet. Also, if you see something like you see a plane coming on the right of us or the left of us and I don't see them or I don't, you can say something. Say, hey, there's a plane right there. I see a plane. I live nowhere and the other planes are. That's kind of a good safety thing, And then why was questions, if you have any questions. Of course, we don't have any questions. Now we're going to look at the Hobbs and tack. I don't think there's any time on this. It's like 2. Yeah, 2. Okay. So you would put in the book what you got on the tack. There you go. Okay. And then now we've got to make sure we're going to the start procedures and the checklist. We got to make sure our seats are locked in, avionics is off, carb heat's off. Of course, we don't have any carb heat button on it. And we're also going to make sure our mixer is rich. So this is right here, your mixer. So make sure it's all the way forward. And then make sure your throttle is slight. So it's going to be the black one right there. And we slide it a little bit. Right there. Sorry about that. And then now we're going to prime. We don't have to prime this one. Usually when you take off, you'll have a primer, but this one doesn't have a priming system on it, so we don't have to worry about that. This is a different checklist for 172M, but pretty much most of it's exactly the same as a real one. It might have little extras. Brakes. Make sure you hear those. Hear those squeak. That's the brakes. And then now we're gonna start the engine. So master on. So master on. Beacons on. And we're gonna look prop clear. Look left, look right, make sure we're clear. Make sure you have the brakes in it always. And we can turn the parking brake on too, just in case. And beacons on. Count to 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 10, 1000. Then you take the key, fit to both. So your magnetos are not like trying to continue starting. If it gets over 10 seconds, you want to cut it off and reevaluates what's going on. Okay. And we're going to bring it down to 1000. And I'll be right back. Okay, hopefully I can edit that out. This little brakes are driving me crazy. Alright. We're at. Reposition myself. Alright. Make sure all masters are on. We're gonna look at oil pressure. Good still. Alright, so got that going now. The seatbelts are on, make sure. Let's get the flaps up. Vent defrost, we don't need that because it's not too cold outside. Of course, we got avionics going now. We're gonna turn on. Alright. 1200 for VFR. That's still going, it's loading. Truck doesn't hit us. We're gonna go on to weather. Okay, get that kicked on. .157, so we're gonna take off 16. It's actually perfect pressure. Wow. Alright, get that going. Don't really use these at all, but it's good to see if there's other aircraft or, well, land nav. It really doesn't show you the other aircraft, so I mean we could program where we're going, frequency stop. It's just the two radios. I think this is takeoffs and landings and stuff like that. And we don't need that. Navigation, no, we're not going to do that one. Volume seems fine. We don't use ADF here. Let's see. Okay. Now let's program the traffic. Flaps up, avionics on, altimeter set up. Got 1200 set. And now we got ADSB is confirm surface. Tells us to runway. We're gonna take off on 16. We're not running any VOR. So we get over there when we get on that side of the button. There we go. Bam! We're on now. Okay. Of course, I can't really test the radio. I usually push a little radio button, say who you are, or just make sure it clicks. So you'd be like, click, 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 and you'd see like it transponding out. Make sure I get the volume set right. Yeah. High. Com1, okay. We can do Com1 and Com2, but we're just doing normal flights. Yeah, we're not caring about that. Okay. We're gonna have taxi lights on. Yeah. Usually, if you're training, you want to turn all the lights on. You don't have to, but alright. So we're gonna do a brake test. Of course, all you do is a little more throttle. Oh yeah, take off the parking brake. So you do right brake, you do right brake, left brake, both brakes. Alright, so brakes are working. And then attitude indicator test. Looks calibrated to me. Turn coordinator test. You won't be able to see it until we get. And then your compass, basically your heading compass matches with your actual magnetic compass. And we got fuel. Okay, we're gonna take the trim off. Make sure the trim's good. Okay, trim's good. Flight controls, already tested those. All instruments look good. Mixture and the best power, so we still got that full. Primer's locked, we don't have the primer, don't worry about this one. We're gonna go at 1700 RPMs. So we're gonna start doing mag checks. Okay, we're gonna test, what we're looking at, it's gonna look at the RPMs drop. At least 100, 150. So we're at 17. So I'm gonna go to the right mag. There it is, it drops. Go back on both. Let it stabilize. Then we do the left. Alright, drop a little bit. Alright. Some mag checks. Now we're gonna look at, we don't have carb heat to test, so we're not gonna do that on this one. Now the vacuum, though we do have the vacuum. The vacuum is in the green range. Now the amps and voltage, so now we're going to look at, I'm just going to turn off the alternator and see if it stops charging. So just watch it drop. Boom. It's not charging anymore, voltage dropped. Get back on, it goes right back up. Sorry, this thing falls in my eyes. Oil pressure, we're looking good still. Okay, and oil temperature. Still the green. Alright, and we're going to make sure we turn it all the way to idle. Make sure it doesn't die on us. If the vehicle doesn't die on us, then we're good to go on the next phase. Also, you can do like your throttle control right here, but okay. So now we're going to do a pre-takeoff when we get to the runway. We're gonna do the. No, no, I don't want to go 3-4. It'd be go through traffic. Skyhawk November 053 Zulu Echo, taxiing to runway 16 through Charlie and Alpha. Student pilot. Alright, let's see if that fixes it. There we go. Alright, so now we just start getting throttles going. Way out, that's kind of weird. My God, this is fucking prohibited. Always check right, check clear. Always want to check your, and you're gonna burn about, jeez. Okay, just bring a car around, it's cool. This game does still have bugs. Well, it's a good one though, the train, especially if you're trying to, you're actually working on your, way too fast. See how that sucks going? Definitely want to be taking off a 1.6. And then going through the checklist is pretty important. I wouldn't say rush it at all. Rushing it's just gonna get you you could fail, you know. You definitely don't want to fail. One of the things that my instructor said is like you want to try to stay center line as much as possible, and of course when you're sitting in the left seat you feel like you're in the straight line, so you kind of have to look at the horizon in front of you, or get your center point, look ahead of you instead of looking just in front of you. So you're always looking down, then up. Okay, nothing right, nothing left. In real life, these lights are not in the taxiway. The taxiway is pretty legitly, like matching really well, but the stupid lights are not. So, and neither of these trees right here, you could actually see the town on the hill here, so it makes landing a little different, but it's still not. It's still the same concept. If you're actually landing at an airport with 50-foot trees or higher, you're still gonna kind of have to overcome those issues, of course. I don't see anything coming down so far. You do turn the yoke towards the wind if there is a gust. I didn't hear too much of a gust because we turned the gust down. So you don't actually blow the plane over, but you can't see that because I removed the yokes. And also when you take off and land, you kind of readjust those while you're going. A good rule of thumb is always check approach and landing, see if you see any lights, listen to the radio. So far no one's calling. If they were, you'd be hearing them on this channel, because this is kind of like an open channel. Good rule of thumb is do not pass this until you're good with everything. You look out, you're looking around, nothing's taking off, nothing's landing. And pre-check off, so we're going to take off with 10% flaps, mixture on full, carb heat off. We're gonna squawk. We're good on that. 1200. Got it. Heading bug. Everything looks pretty on still. I mean, it's still on north. It does get off a little bit from magnetic north, but I mean, you can kind of fix it a little bit. There we go. And then your doors and windows, make sure they're all locked. All the locks are done. And then landing lights are on. Strobes are always going to be on. Note time, 13:24, and then release brakes. Then when we take off, we're going to go full throttle. But also, our plan is, like I said, we're going to take off on 1.6. If we have any emergency on the runway, lose power, RPMs drop, engine, we're just going to land back on the runway because we got plenty of runway. This is 5,000 feet. We get up, if we go below 1,000 feet, there is a field to the right and to the left. We're going to try to get our best glide slope and just try to angle towards that direction because we're too low when we don't want to do a turn or get into a spin. At over 1,000 feet, we might be able to use the best glide slope, get the best winds, and may return, and then start going through the emergency procedure plans if we have enough time. Try to memorize those. Any questions? Ready to go? Full throttle, 2,300 RPMs, pressure rotates at 55 knots, and VY is 78. And once we hit 78 knots, we'll put the flaps up. Runway looks clear, and then you would say Guthrie traffic. This is Skyhawk November 053 Zulu Echo. Taking off on 1.6, heading southeast bound. Student pilot. Up. Make sure you're on 1.6 when he gets over. Always double check, triple check. Alright, this is 1.6. No one in front of us. Line her up. Full throttle. Kind of reline her up. We're going to right in the wind, so we're not going to have too much crosswind. Just a little rudder to fight. Okay, we're at 65. Wow. So you can start rotating it. Don't really mess with the trim yet. 80 knots. Okay, we're past the 72, so flaps up. Southeast, 120. For the climb. We're gonna hit to Guthrie traffic, Skyhawk November 053 Zulu Echo. Heading southeast, 1 mile out from Guthrie. Altitude gonna do at 2,500. Last comms. So we're working up by getting our altitude for base climb. Once we get a climb, we want to stay in 70, 80, or 70 to 78. Power's still full. We're looking at the instruments. Instruments still look pretty good. So we hit that 25. Adjust your trim to what you need to, so you're not fighting the stick. So I'm fighting the stick a little bit. And then we're right at. Slow it down. Now we're going to put the throttle back a little bit. Let's look left and right. I was always told, like, alright. Let's move this down a little bit. Put 100 over. Always check. You can always use the throttle to kind of go down as well, but trim's usually pretty level, but so we need to go a little downforce. We're gonna fly a little low today. We're at 24. We're gonna find a good cruise speed. Once we get the trim figured out, we'll southeast. Still going up a little bit. Alright, trim is pretty good. I mean, it's going down a little bit, but we're just going to let it even out a little bit. Okay, we're at 250, or 2500, or 2500. We're at cruise. We can mess with mixture. We don't have to. Airport's behind us. We're going pretty cruise distance right now. It's not windy because we just turned up the wind just for training purposes only. So now we're gonna go do a touch and go request once we get on the radio. So the descent. Go through the descent and the checklist in a minute. You always, this airport is a left pattern, so we're gonna clear right, clear left. Okay, sorry about that. Gotta make sure you look. A little back pressure. This rudder is so sensitive. Rudder pedals actually. Okay, so the airport's in the distance. We're going completely west now. I always want to go towards that, like at a 45-degree angle. And then you start the pattern, so like, you can use the highway as your, there is, for this airport for sure, this one actually has a, kind of knows when you turn right, you can kind of follow it, so then you can get in the pattern pretty well. So it'd be Guthrie traffic, Skyhawk, November 053, Zulu Echo, 3 miles out southeast, heading towards Guthrie. Do touch and go on 16 after pattern. Student pilot, and then let's see. There's the airport. So now we can start doing our descent. So we can start. So mixture full. Okay, check. Fuels on both. Carb heat as required. ATIS. So we're going to go in the ATIS. Let's to our weather real quick. Okay, 2992. Instruments looking good. The pattern, so we're going at a 45. There's the highway on the right side. So we're going to try to stay in about 1,000 feet. So we're going to try to set about 1,700 feet. You want to make sure the runway's clear, and then you can see the SOC from the distance. It's a little hard to see the SOC here. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the base. Shit. Actually, we're actually going down the downwind. Okay, so now pre-landing brake pedal test, landing lights on, check, autopilot off. We're not running autopilot. Seatbelts and harnesses checked. Mixture is best power. Carb heat is on. Fuel both is required. Flaps is required. So we're gonna do 10. Since we're in the range, we're gonna do flaps now. I'm gonna keep it around 70 knots. 60 knots is when you're like right over the threshold. Right now we're still turning, maneuvering, so you still want to stay at maneuvering speed. And then you want to trim it out a little bit so you're not pulling back on the stick while you're turning. And the throttle is going to be your best friend. Okay, now we're on the base leg. You just go with it. Okay, we're gonna put another flaps on. Just Alright, and then we're gonna go into the wind, so you're gonna watch the speed go down. A little high. Alright, we're on the final leg now. Got through traffic. This is November 05 Zulu Echo on final on 1-6. Student pilot. Line it up. We're still going a little fast. Now we want like around 60 knots now. Let's let the plane go through it. You got the two whites right now. Just let the plane go down. There we go. So now we got the good slope. Right up high. Just keep it at 60 the whole time. Just bring it down. Take a little trim. Keep it going. A little rudder. Not much. Just enough to get the straighten her out a little bit. Still a good glide slope. Going in. Idle. A little too hard on the stick. That was still a little too hard, wasn't it? That wasn't the perfect landing. Alright, full throttle. Rotate. Flaps. We'll do the climb. We hit 70. Get the rest of the flaps up. Got through traffic. November 053 Zulu Echo heading southeast. Student pilot. Yeah, that was touch and go. It wasn't too bad. Wasn't the best, but I flared it a little too soon before I went down, but I mean that's part of the training, right? Being a student pilot. Okay, so now we're gonna actually do a stop. We'll do the descent checklist once we get the altitude at 2,500 feet. So we'll get 2,500, and then we'll go through the checklist. We'll actually land, and we'll stop in a taxi, and then we'll do the rest of the checklist. And that will be the end of episode 2 for sure. Once we get button the runway. Good slow flight. Trim it up a bit. Always pull the yoke back and then trim it. Never trim it, chase it. Alright, so we're at 25. Alright, that works for me. So now we're gonna go back, turn into the pattern. Guthrie traffic, November 053 Zulu Echo. Heading to Guthrie Airport. Land on runway 16. Going into the pattern. Downwind leg. Okay. So now we're gonna start doing our descent checklist. So let's keep it about 1700. Still kind of high, so we can kind of see what's going on. Maybe we can kind of go out a little bit down more, drop some altitude. Kind of like a, what do you call it, a teardrop. Make sure no one else is taking off behind you. Alright, so we're going to get back down to that 1,000 feet. Check left. Alright, descent mixture is that. ATIS is the same, but we're always going to check the ATIS. Altimeter is set. Instrument is set. Brake test landing lights are on. Autopilot is off. Seats are harnessed. Mixture on both. Carb heat on both. And then flaps is required. So now we're going to slow it down. Because we are going pretty quick. And when you land, you use your throttle as your when you're going up and down. Okay, 1%, 10%, my bad. We're still heading downwind, so we're not turning on the base leg until probably once we get over here. Usually, just let that descend happen with the throttle. We're still going pretty quick, so we can kind of back a little bit. Alright, we're at 70. Want to keep around 70 knots. Okay, we're on the base leg right now. I'll put another. Look at the flaps wrong on this thing. I need to change the toggle switch on this thing. Alright. Make sure they're at. Alright, we're at 20. Okay. Going 60. Already had a good glide slope. Guthrie traffic. Skyhawk November 0530 Zulu Echo. On final on 16. Student pilot. Starts getting mushier when you start landing, like you're definitely throttle. Speed it up, speed it up. There we go. It's much mushier. Slower to just figure out the target. Mine's at 16 right now. Go. Glide slope range still at 60. Let's try to get it flared right this time. It was alright. A little off. Overall, landed it safely. Don't want to use the brakes too much, because that's a good way to burn your brakes and your tires and locking it up. Just let it roll. And then we'll get off the runway right here. On the A. Alright, Guthrie traffic. Skyhawk November 053 Zulu Echo. Clear the runway. Going across taxiway to FBO. Student pilot. So since we're on the ground real quick, we can we just landed, so we can turn the basically need to get to the spot now so we can turn off the stuff. So now we'll get to there. Clear to the right, clear to the left. We'll get to a parking spot. And then we'll do the final securing of the aircraft. And that is a touch and go, and that was 2 takeoffs. Should be taxiing this fast, not bad. Trying to get my rudder as closest to the real thing, but it's just kind of a work in progress. Still too fast. There we go. Just turn here. There's not gonna be a guy telling us where to land at this airport, so we just alright, so now we're gonna secure. So flaps up, carb heat off, strobes off, landing lights off, pitot heat off, mixture is required. Trim take off. Okay. Turn off. That's off. And then ELT is silent. ELT silent. Avionics off. Mixture full lean. This off real quick. Okay, boom. Okay, mags off. Master's off. All lights are off. Lights off. Then we record our tack time in the book. So now we got 2-4. And now control lock, you would put that in here, and there's a little pin, locks in there, blocks the key, and then we chalk it down, tie it down, put the EP2 cover on, baggage door, and then the cabin doors, make sure we close it, and then we have successfully followed a checklist of a 172, and 2 takeoffs and 2 landings. So there we go. Well, if you got any questions or anything like that, shoot me an invite or shoot me a DM or whatever, how you guys call it now. Also, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to put more videos on here of different maneuvers soon, and different practice tests. I actually have a program on here as well to do actual ACS, or basically the private pilot license, actual check ride flight test, and also stuff you do when you're actually in flight training as well. I mean, this is like one. This is like takeoffs and landings and tucking in the radio and communicating with a AT or non-towered airport. So we'll start including real flight as well. I just have to get GoPros and put them on the plane and all that good stuff. And you'll actually get to see actual takeoffs and landings and approaches and maneuvers and questions and just different ideas and stuff like that. But like I said, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.